What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, our Dallas Cowboys, who just dropped a 50 burger on the Indianapolis Colts. We'll get there, but a reminder before we get started that our post-game show is presented to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, the jerky that helps fuel your 9-3 Dallas Cowboys. That is right, Righteous Felon Jerky and Biltong are available for Cowboys players at the Ford Center Training Facility. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, Biltong 32 grams of protein, and each meat stick has 8 grams of protein. If it's good enough for the Cowboys and what they have done lately, it has got to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon uses locally sourced, all-natural black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. Go to righteousfelon.com and use code BTB15 at checkout to get 15% off your order. That is BTB15 at your checkout, righteousfelon.com, to get 15% off your order. Oh my gosh. Where do we start? We have a lot of stock ups to get to. We have some stock downs. We'll, of course, take your comments. This is your post-game show after all. I say this all the time. It is the truth. I am merely a puppet. I am a mannequin. You control me. I dance the way you move me. You commenters drive this show. Our show, because our Dallas Cowboys just completely and totally obliterated a team. By the way, as we're talking here, and I'm always checking Twitter to make sure that we're, keeping things, up to tabs and whatnot. John Machota of The Athletic just tweeted out that Jerry Jones said Ezekiel Elliott did not start tonight because of a disciplinary reason. Interesting. Not exactly sure what happened, but it didn't seem to impact things because the Cowboys had their way with the Indianapolis Colts, 54-19. Like I said, the final score. If you're watching the show, you can watch us live on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. You can always catch the rewatch at your own convenience. You can listen on the Blog of the Boys podcast network. Any one of those things makes us happy. Shout out to all of you tagging us in your Spotify wrap. That makes us very, very happy. If you are watching it, you are seeing that I wore the red polo because the Cowboys wore the red stripe on their helmet. They got rid of that, whatever jinx or bad luck, whatever. The red stripe now a very good thing. Casey Cooper, thank you for the super chat, says, RJ, I was hoping for some spicy eagle wings to go with my Colts 50 burger tonight, but we will take it. Side note, Chris Collinsworth is a clown. Hashtag DC4L. I'm a Chris Collinsworth fan, if I'm being honest with you. I love Chris Collinsworth. I know that that's an opinion that not everybody shares. And for what it's worth, Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico both tonight, after the aforementioned Zeke Elliott jumped into the Salvation Army kettle, they both said that it was silly of the NFL to fine all of the Cowboys tight ends for doing it last week on Thanksgiving. So I think that they deserve some props for that. Tiburon Designs, thank you for the comments, says Righteous Felon needs to come out with a new flavor. Durand Never Bland, the rookie cornerback for the Cowboys, coming up with 2 interceptions tonight against the Colts. My goodness. Jonathan Santana says, Bland baby. By the way, on the subject of Righteous Felon, if you are with us live, not everybody can watch this live. I understand this is only applicable to the live audience. We do have a poll up on YouTube. Who is the Righteous Felon Craft Jerky player of the game? You get to vote. We are going to hand out, we don't have anything, but we're going to give it to them. It's a spiritual award. It's a metaphorical award. It's a non-tangible award. Malik Hooker, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, or another player that you want to vote for. That poll is available off to the side. If you are watching, you wouldn't be watching anywhere else. But if you're with us live, Vance Williams, thank you for the super chat. Still looking to see if we get anything on the disciplinary thing. Mike Leslie of WFAA added that it is not a major deal. He said it was like a phone going off in a meeting or something of that nature. Okay, so not the biggest deal. Okay, all right, now we can feel good again. Vance Williams, thank you for the super chat, says, hell of a win. Mike McCarthy showing a certain other head coach how you win one for Frank Reich. Yeah, does the win really count if Mike McCarthy didn't go shout obscenities at the crowd and say that this one was for Frank Reich? I mean, man alive, what a performance. I just think that I think people are going to focus on the first half of this game, maybe the third quarter, if you want to call it that. The Cowboys playing a little bit down, playing with their food. People like to use certain expressions like that. I understand that. I understand your concerns. Right before we started the show, I did a TikTok and Instagram reel where I said that the Cowboys did play down, were asleep at the wheel, whatever, early on. But what we learned, this was not the Cowboys' finest performance by any stretch of the imagination. And if you didn't watch the game, if you saw the scoreboard, you're probably thinking, how the hell is that possible? They scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, and I think that to me, that is the most exciting thing is that the Cowboys in the fourth quarter said, enough. enough of this, enough of playing around. Let's go end them right now. Let's go end them. And then they did. And then they said, you know what? That felt really good. Let's go do it again and again and again and again. Like Coach Herb, was it Herb Brooks? The Team USA coach? I think it was Herb Brooks. I've only seen the movie Miracle a few times, so I can't, vouch for what the exact real life person's name is. That's my apologies. But again and again and again and again, the Cowboys poured it on the Colts in the fourth quarter. I love that about them. Paul Beebe, thank you for the super chat, says, what a fourth quarter Hooker revenge game. Malik Hooker, one of the nominees for our Righteous Felon Craft Turkey Player of the Game, had the interception in the first half. By the way, that interception immediately led to Michael Gallup's first touchdown with Dak Prescott of the season. It was beautiful. And then Michael Gallup's second touchdown, which happened, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, immediately after Malik Hooker recovered the fumble that Damone Clark caused and took that all the way back to the house. So Malik Hooker totally got revenge against the Indianapolis Colts. Awesome to see. Scott Purificato, hope I got that right, says, great win. We have a cornerback problem. We'll get there. We're getting through the good vibes. Jorge A says, the Zeke chance gave me goosebumps. 21 is a beast. We've all had our fun. Or at least some sort of fun or some sort of stuff, talking about Zeke and Pollard and the debates and whatever. I will say there is a nostalgia. Zeke's been around long enough. There is a nostalgia to when Zeke is rolling. It just feels good. It just makes you feel good as a Cowboys fan. So that was a lot of fun to see. Kevin says, Bland is my player of the game. Thank you. That is an option, certainly. Miguel says, shout out to Jason Garrett. He predicted we would win by 40 and almost nailed it. Ha, ha, ha. Miguel talking about Jason Garrett on Football Night in America in the pregame. That was very cool. David Reagan McCauley says, I'm voting for Bland. That is definitely an option. Astro Joe says, where's the link to the SB Nation swag? You know what? We're working on it. Anthony Gonzalez, thank you for the super chat, says, Dallas Cowboys hit ludicrous speed, and went to plaid. Ludicrous speed and went to plaid. I don't know. Either way, the Cowboys were, again, on fire in the fourth quarter. And this is what you're supposed to do. I tweeted before the game started. I know we were all kind of feeling the same sort of thing. Like, man, like they better not come out and be down. They better not come out and just kind of be flat. They better not come out and disappoint us after this week and a half off, after they've reeled off 2 huge wins in a row. They better not come out and do it. They should come out and they should vanquish this team. And you know what they did? They vanquished them. Now, Kevin says, still have to be concerned about they continue to make silly mistakes. Yes, they do. However, they overcame them. I mean, and they're such a good team that they made a lot of mistakes and they won 54-19. And you're not going to have those quarters where you blow up, right? Like in the fourth quarter. That's such a rare thing where you score 33 points like that. But it is indicative of the fifth gear that they can hit that not a lot of teams can. Other teams can, they're not the only ones, but most of them cannot. Most teams cannot do what the Cowboys did to the Colts in the fourth quarter. And you know what I love? My favorite part about what they did to the Colts in the fourth quarter was, and I know I already kind of talked about it, I love that they never took their foot off the gas. I respect the hell out of McCarthy for that. I respect Mike McCarthy saying, no, we need more. No, enough. Because you know who took their foot off the gas? The 2021 Dallas Cowboys. Those Cowboys took their foot off the gas. Those Cowboys celebrated. Those Cowboys thought that it was all going to happen and line up for them, and it didn't. And it punched them in the face. And so I love Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys saying, never, never, never again are we going to be complacent like that. I respect that greatly. Watsamata, thank you for the super chat, says, you know you are living right when Colt Castoff and beloved Cowboy Malik Hooker has Karam go right to him. Fumble goes right to him. I mean, just an amazing night from Malik Hooker. Seriously, he has to feel incredible about this night. What an absolute revenge. It didn't work out for him in Indianapolis. They spent a first-round pick on him. He stuck around with the Cowboys, and he was paid handsomely for it tonight against the Colts specifically. Let's keep going here because we have a lot to get to, obviously. Bubba Jaita, hope I'm getting that correctly, says the defense steps up again. They really did. Pharaoh says second scoregami of the season, 54-19, a very rare score, by the way. Second scoregami of the year. We also had our second tie of the year. The Commanders and Giants tying early in the afternoon. Let's keep going here. Trying to get through all your comments here. By the way, again, vote for our Righteous Felon Craft Turkey Player of the Game. As of this moment in time, we don't have Deron Bland as an option, but we do have another player. But so you can consider Deron Bland as that player. Malik Hooker leading the vote with 52%. So big time night for Malik Hooker. Seeing if there's any more news. The Cowboys fear. Okay, let's go ahead and get to this. Michael Gelkin of the Dallas Morning News tweeting out here. We'll get a banner up on so we can talk about it. The Cowboys fear that Anthony Brown has a ruptured Achilles. So let's get this up here. Anthony Brown has a ruptured Achilles. So this is unideal. Obviously, I know that there are a lot of people who don't like Anthony Brown. I know that there are a lot of people who think he's not a great player. And I'll be frank with you right now that Anthony Brown made my stock down list. And I feel bad about that right now, obviously, because he maybe has a torn Achilles. And that's tough. As much as you or me or somebody may not like Anthony Brown, he's valuable. He's valuable. I mean, look at Kelvin Joseph. Kelvin Joseph. Let's just get to the stock downs very quickly. I had 3 stock downs. They were Anthony Brown, they were Kelvin Joseph, and Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs early on got burnt bad, took a chance, and it hurt him. That doesn't mean Trayvon sucks or Trayvon's a bad player, but he had a bad moment. And so my only stock downs were the Cowboys cornerbacks. You cannot afford to lose one. You cannot. The Cowboys already lost Jordan Lewis and could not afford to lose him. I know Deron Bland had an amazing game tonight, but Deron Bland had struggled a little bit over the last couple of games. This is tough. You cannot lose Anthony Brown. That's a huge bummer. Jordan Lewis, by the way, just tweeted out, they just retired Matt. Crazy. Talking about Matt Ryan. Seriously, Matt Ryan, what an awful day. We have a lot of news coming out, so we're going to have to kind of fly through some stuff, people. Make sure you stay tuned to bloggingtheboys.com. Blogging the Boys on social media. We'll keep you covered on everything. Melissa Stark, NBC sideline reporter, said this during the game. We kind of had some tea leaves about this as well last week, but Jerry Jones saying post-game tonight that Tyron Smith will, in fact, return to practice this coming week. So while it is a bummer that Anthony Brown may or is feared to have a ruptured Achilles, the Cowboys are going to get Anthony Brown back. So we do have to hope that they find a plan at corner, because losing Anthony Brown is a tough scene. Even if you are not fond of him, believe me, they cannot afford to lose Anthony Brown, which is again tough. We wish Anthony the best and hope that he heals up and gets right soon enough. Christopher Kinsey, thank you for the super chat. Says, RJ, you had a theory on the mixtape about OBJ and the media setting things up on primetime TV. That dialogue in the fourth felt like it was the case. Thank you, Christopher, for listening to the NFC's mixtape. Going to be a fun episode this week. Just quickly, the Spark Notes version of what I said that Christopher's talking about. I don't think it's a coincidence that the day the Cowboys played the Vikings, that was the day, if you recall, there were reports that Dallas and the Giants were the top 2 teams on Odell Beckham Jr.'s wish list. That day that the Cowboys destroyed the Vikings, they did so in CBS's number 1 window, in CBS's number 1 broadcast. Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and Jim Nantz on the call. A few days later, last week on Thanksgiving. So, my point is, what happened during that game? The Cowboys destroying the Vikings. They start talking about Odell. So CBS gets a piece of the Cowboys Odell pie. A few days later, Cowboys destroy, or have fun at least, with the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. That is on Fox with Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, and Aaron Andrews. Fox's number 1 crew gets a piece of the pie. Tonight on NBC, the NFL's other, main primary broadcasting partner, NBC, they get to talk about the Cowboys Odell thing and get a piece of the pie. Every single major broadcast network outside of ESPN, obviously the home of Monday Night Football, got a piece and got an opportunity to talk about the Cowboys and Odell Beckham Jr. I thought that was very strange and kind of a weird coincidence. It does kind of feel like the Cowboys, I wouldn't say set this up, but like nobody has a problem enjoying the attention associated with Odell Beckham Jr., but that's it. There's a lot. Just to kind of tie all of our, threads into one thing right now, we're talking Anthony Brown probably has a ruptured Achilles. Tyron Smith returning to practice this week. Odell Beckham Jr. is set to visit the Cowboys this coming week. It is going to be bananas crazy. So again, make sure you stay tuned to bloggingtheboys.com. We'll keep you updated on all of it, and here on the YouTube channel, the podcast network, et cetera, et cetera. Lil Boats, thank you for the super chats. His turning point was the Colts' 2-point failure. It really was. I mean, it is kind of funny when we look back on that. The Colts going for 2, it made sense. They did not get it, and then it just all fell apart for the Colts. I did reach a point where I kind of felt bad for them. That's my dog shaking in his tag in the background. But yeah, I mean, Colts are not a good team, and the Cowboys treated them like they are not a good team. Shane Davis, thank you for the comment, says they are 1 injury away from this secondary becoming a disaster. I agree, as my dog decides now is the moment to make his bed and get comfortable in the background. Apologies, I don't know how sensitive this microphone is to picking that up. Again, I know that there are people who are not fond of Anthony Brown, but the fact is that Dallas is already down Jordan Lewis, already down Anthony Brown now. I mean, that is hard. You're going to have to rely on Kelvin Joseph to a large degree, and we saw tonight the latest example that Kelvin Joseph, not a great player for the Cowboys. I mean, I don't know how Kelvin Joseph has the penalty at the beginning of the game, right? To kind of get back to the game, we've had a lot of other sort of extenuating circumstances happening here. how do you partake in interference on a punt when the returner is clearly waving for a fair catch? I mean, it's not just that Kelvin Joseph is bad, right? That's the part of the frustrating thing. It's that Kelvin Joseph is making these silly decisions. It's that Kelvin Joseph is hurting the Cowboys. He is offering more harm than good to the state of the football team right now. And that's not trying to be funny. That's not trying to be silly. It's not trying to be sarcastic. That's just the truth. I mean, I would like anyone as best as they can, if you're here live, to answer what was the last Kelvin Joseph play that he made that you were like, you know what, totally worth it. You know what, there it is. You know what, that was a good play. What was the last? Like, name one. And I'm not saying they don't exist. They just are not coming to the top of my memory bank right now. So that's just where I'm at. Personally, let's see here. AJ Torres says, let's give Jason Peters some love. He was bulldozing some people. Totally agree. Did not make my stock report, but he deserves a lot of credit. Galvin says, Blaine stock up. We will get there. Totally agreed. Colby says Blaine has to take AB's spot. Deron Bland's already taken Jordan Lewis's spot. Joe says KJ needs to grow up real quick. Tony Calderon, thank you for the super chat. Big time super chat. I want to shout out Tony. This is one of the biggest super chats we've ever gotten around here. Tony, seriously, thank you so much from Blogging the Boys to you. A $100 super chat from Tony Calderon. Thank you so much, Tony. Seriously, it is so cool that we can all get here and sit here and talk about the Cowboys together and experience it as the family that we are. Thank you for the comment. The comment reads, for the podcast audience, love your show. You keep us updated with the very best updates. Corpus Christi fan. I love Corpus Christi. My entire family from the Corpus Christi, Kingsville area. So Corpus holds a very near, dear, special place in my heart. The 361 forever. Thank you so much, Tony. Again, that is just such a wonderful thing. Thank you, Tony. Hope you have a great rest of your night and a great start to your Monday. Great, awesome times. Lots of people in the chat shouting Tony out. That is cool times. All right, let's see here. Just making sure I'm not missing anything here. Everything's still about Anthony Brown for the Cowboys. But all right, by the way, Loco Texas says Corpus Christi, Selena, Whataburger, Orale. That's right, the home of Whataburger, Corpus Christi. It is it's a tough deal that the Cowboys are seemingly going to be out for Anthony Brown, or out, with Anthony Brown. Spencer says, RJ, we don't need to overpay Odell. I was really hoping to pick him up, but with him not doing any workouts, no thanks. I don't think that I'm all in on Odell at this point in time. And look, the Cowboys exploded in the fourth quarter, and we'll get to the stock report and stock up players right now. But a big reason why the Cowboys exploded in the fourth quarter is because they were finally getting production out of their wide receivers. This was, and I don't want to spoil the stock report, but this was maybe the most completely dominant game that CeeDee Lamb has ever played for the Cowboys. And Michael Gallup finally showed up, but early on it was tough. Early on it was kind of like pulling teeth to get some production out of your wide receivers. And so having Odell is totally worth it in my mind. John says stock up Anthony Barr. Like I said, we will get there. Fareed, thank you for the super chat. Says sign Joe Hayden or Chris Harris to replace him if injured. Both could help. I really think, this is not like a hot take or a reach or anything. The Cowboys are going to have to bring in somebody at this point in time, even if they do bring in Odell Beckham Jr., even if they do bring Tyron Smith back, even if James Washington somehow makes his way back. They're at a place where they're going to need help, obviously, in the cornerback room and the secondary as a whole. They're going to need a lot of help. They're down. They're down two guys. They're down two starters right now. Like, that's something that if you are somebody who's like dismissive of the idea, right? Like Anthony Brown sucks, Jordan Lewis, I'm not missing, whatever, blah, blah. Just consider that they are down two starters in the secondary. That's a big deal. 2 of 5 total possible starters. That is a big deal for them. So they definitely need to get some people in here to figure things out. D-Day 2 says need to bring in a vet free agent cornerback, even if they're not great, just for experience. Chris Harris, Janoris Jenkins, Kevin King, etc. Let's see here. A lot of people are torn on Odell Beckham Jr. It is look, I'm Team Odell. That's where I'm at. AJ says I miss Whataburger. Whataburger is awesome. All right. Let's see here. Think Tank Gallery says, RJ, do you think we should have taken Dak and Zeke out 1 or 2 drives earlier? No, I'm fine with it. Again, I'm fine with pouring it on. I'm fine with keeping your foot on the gas. I'm totally fine with that. And obviously it worked out because they didn't get hurt, right? That has happened in NFL history or other sports where you say, why was X player in? They got hurt. That didn't need to happen. I love it. And I think Mike McCarthy does not get enough credit for knowing his players and reading the room and reading the situation. And I trust him. I trust Mike McCarthy to make those calls and read those moments, read those situations. And if that's what he felt was best, I'm cool with it. And by the way, D-Day 2 notes that Dak was just handing it off or throwing it away fast in the end. Shout out to Malik Davis. Didn't make my stock report, but Malik Davis did get his first career touchdown in this game, which was very cool to see. Obviously, it was what put the Cowboys over 50. So good for them. Brian, shout out to Brian. Everybody follow Brian on TikTok. He's at Talk Cowboys. Says my fantasy team was down by 50 points before this game. CD and the Dallas D combined for 50.4 points, and I win. LOL. That is awesome. That is so awesome. I love stuff like that. Shane says I'm used to Jason Garrett era where every game was close. I like blowing out teams. I like disrespecting teams. And I know that sounds weird, but I like saying we do not care about your feelings. I talked about this in the lead up to the Packers game, and obviously that's why it was so frustrating that the Cowboys lost it. But what I wanted out of the Packers game, I didn't want any pleasantries. I didn't want the Cowboys to get lost in the moment. I wanted the Cowboys to go to Green Bay and play what we know is a bad team. That's again partly what makes the loss so frustrating. And I wanted the Cowboys to act like a bunch of savages. I wanted the Cowboys to go into Green Bay and just light it up. I wanted the Cowboys to go in there and take no prisoners, have no mercy, just completely and totally exact their wrath. And they did not do that. And they did that against the Colts. And I love that. I love the idea of this is our world and you have to live in it. I love the presentation of that. I love, kind of just letting it all hang out that way. So I'm a big fan of that. Regardless of who you are, who you're playing, whether you're at home on the road. I love it. I love that the Cowboys did not take their dudes out. Just to be fair. Ben says stock up. RJ, Cowboys Christmas stocking is clutch. That's right. If you're watching the show, my wife makes sure that the office here at the house looks nice. If you can't see, we got a Christmas tree here too. Some little Christmas mugs. It's just that time of year. That's just this. This was such an awesome night, such an awesome kind of week and a half, obviously coming off the Thanksgiving Day game. And obviously a lot of people spend that time decorating their houses or apartments or whatever. And to just kind of like roll into this month, we've been talking so much. We did on our roundtable show here at Blogging the Boys about how, okay, are these 3 games trap games for the Cowboys? Are they going to lose to the Colts? Are they going to lose to the Jaguars? And obviously a week ago, the Jaguars were coming off of that win against the Ravens, which doesn't exactly look impressive right now. And so we were all kind of wondering what's going to happen here. How's this going to go? And I love that the Cowboys said, we're going to handle this. We're just going to handle our business. Don't worry about it. They're 9-3. They are 9-3. That is insane. That is impossible to believe. Michelle, thank you for the super chat, says, how is Bear feeling after the win? He has a little bed here under the desk. He is curled up. He is just curled up nice and listening to Dad talk. So Bear's feeling good. Obviously a little bit bummed that the Bears lost and that the Packers overtook them for most franchise wins of all time. That sucks. Let's see here. Caleb says, I love the win we had, but it is concerning to see the inconsistency early in games. I desperately need Kellen Moore to figure out a game plan. We have too much talent to struggle for an entire half. I agree with this entirely. I agree that the Cowboys cannot afford to play that way in that they did in the first half or third quarter, if you want to lump that in there, against, and not even, people won't want to hear this, but the Eagles or even the Vikings again, or even the Giants. I mean, it doesn't work out this way all the time. It does sometimes or often, but it does not work out this way all the time. And so they got to figure it out. They certainly got to tidy things up. But if they can learn in the process of all this 3-game stretch is an opportunity for them to kind of figure that crap out, for lack of a better term. I mean, this is the opportunity before the Cowboys host the Eagles and travel to take on the Titans, who could not help us out. Titans, you are worthless. You couldn't help us out whatsoever today. So that's tough. Paul says it would be crazy if Dallas finishes 14-3 and is the 5th seed as a wild card. It is possible. It is possible. In case you jumped in late, in case you haven't been following along, the Cowboys did not get any help this week across the NFC. So at present time, the Cowboys are the 5th seed in the NFC with a 9-3 record. And they have to have, if they're going to win the NFC East, they have to have one Eagles loss besides the one that we plan on giving them ourselves. The Philadelphia Eagles visit the New York Giants on Sunday afternoon. They visit the Chicago Bears next Sunday. Obviously, we are planning on them losing to the Cowboys. They still have to host the Giants, obviously, but that doesn't happen until Week 18. They will host the New Orleans Saints. I mean, so it is tough. It is tough to find a game that the Eagles are going to lose. But, it is the NFL, and they struggled against this Colts team that the Cowboys kind of struggled with for a little bit before they put them away. The NFL is wild and crazy. But I do think that we're all kind of feeling very confident in the Cowboys. I think it's a weird thing where we think that the Cowboys might not win the division, but that they are the better team, right? The Cowboys are just kind of a little bit behind because of the way the season started, and the Eagles kind of built up a bit of a lead that's a little bit tough to catch. But the Cowboys are the better team. I think we all kind of feel that way. Shout out to Mikey Montano, says, last Cowboys Super Bowl was when I was 2 months old. My newborn will be 2 months old in February. Super Bowl win confirmed, baby. Big congratulations to my friend Mikey Montano and his wife. They did celebrate the birth of their child 2 months ago, if that isn't obvious, or not 2 months ago, but you get the point. Mikey also, by the way, ordered some Righteous Felon craft jerky, he told me the other day. So everybody go to righteousfelon.com, use discount code BTB15 to get 15% off your order. Mikey, let me know how you like it. Larry, by the way, says, RJ, we're finally getting a Whataburger in Little Rock. That's awesome, Larry. Congratulations. I'm very, very happy for you. Let's get to stock report. My stock ups. I have 7 stock ups. As mentioned, if you got here late, I had 3 down. I feel bad about Anthony Brown because he may have ruptured his Achilles. So I don't want to – I might change that when I write the article and do the Instagram thing because I feel bad. He got hurt. All right? I don't want to have him on my stock down list if he's hurt. That doesn't feel cool to me. Stock down Kelvin Joseph and stock down Trayvon Diggs. Just a rough night for the Cowboys secondary in a lot of ways. Tough scene. But Watson Mata, thank you for the super chat, says, did New York Jets Mike White get the last laugh on the Cowboys by throwing that pick so the Vikings could win? I hope not, Watson Mata. I hope not. All right, stock up. I have 7 stock ups to get to. First one, CeeDee Lamb. I mentioned this a little while ago. I think, and you can tell me yes or no if you agree with this, I think this was the most dominant game that CeeDee has played as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And those are the words I'm using. I'm not saying his best game. I'm not saying his most productive game. This was the most dominant game that he has played. This was the most, that dude's a wide receiver 1 game he has played since he has been on this team. And it's been 2.5 years, and that's, a little bit frustrating, whatever. But he was in control. I mean, he was in control. I realize that's kind of a subjective thing, but he was completely and totally and absolutely in physical control of the game. It was CeeDee Lamb's arena that he was running and operating in a physical and I would argue like multiversal sense. Like it was an incredible game from CeeDee Lamb that we saw tonight against the Indianapolis Colts. He completely and totally dominated. Like I said, he has had other games that he's had signature moments in, right? Everybody remembers the game against New England last year and the walk-off. He's had some crazy catches before, but this was the most physically present that he has been in a game from start to finish. And the stat line isn't like even that amazing. I mean, he had 5 catches off 7 targets for 71 yards and the touchdown early on, but it was just, he dominated this game. He owned this game. It was CeeDee Lamb's game in every sense. And that was really, 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 really exciting. Mark says, RJ, did you love putting CeeDee in motion for most of the night? Yes. Mark adds, I think it created some mismatches. Totally. Absolutely. Kellen deserves some props for that. Kellen's not on the stock report, but Kellen does deserve some props for that. Totally agree. I mean, CeeDee was phenomenal on Sunday night against the Colts. Casey says CeeDee needs to stick to catching instead of throwing. Yeah, the 2-point conversion was a little bit fun, but we definitely don't need to see CeeDee throwing any passes. Doxson7 says finally moving him around too. Agreed. AJ says keep CeeDee in motion for the rest of the year, please. I'm going to get somebody to write an article about this at Blogging the Boys this week because, again, it was such a valuable tool. It helped unlock CeeDee and his potential. I saw a tweet. I don't know who it was off the top of my head, so apologies. This was Oklahoma CeeDee. This was the dude when we spent the entirety of the 2020, time after the draft, before the season, when we spent all that time kind of like hyping him up and gassing him up, it's because we thought that the dude we got tonight was the dude we were going to be getting from day one. And it didn't happen from day one, and that's okay. We're not here to relitigate the situation, but he was that dude. He was the yak god that we saw at Oklahoma on Sunday night against the Indianapolis Colts. Awesome to see. Clay says, I like Lamb on the jet sweeps early, surprisingly. Agreed. I mean, Kevin says he has had much better games. This was a good game for him, though. I'm fine saying that, but like I said, it just felt different. It felt like he was more in control. And I know that that's a weird way to put this, but it just felt like it was CD's game, CD's night. So that's how I'm going to put it. Let's see here. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. To stock down BLG for crying on Twitter about bad calls. I love to see it. Brandon Lee Gowden is somebody who does, in fact, love to talk about referees. Although, if I'm being fair, I thought Matt Ryan had some loser energy. Matt Ryan's over here, screaming about not getting a face mask or whatever. Matt Ryan, wake up, dude. Come back to us. Matt Ryan literally got away with, not roughing the passer, with an intentional grounding the play before he was crying. So, Matt Ryan, I know you had a rough night at work on Sunday night, bro. But, Matt Ryan, you need to chill out a little bit. Tough scene. By the way, Christopher says, yes, BLG crying is GOAT. But BLG does stalk the YouTube comments on Blogging the Boys. If anybody wants him to see their comment, just so you know, he does check them out from time to time because, as we all know, the Cowboys live rent-free in the mind of Eagles fans. Stock up for me, Tony Pollard. I mean, there was the report, excuse me, about Zeke having a disciplinary issue, obviously, whatever, with his phone going off, whatever the case would be. Zeke had an awesome game. Zeke didn't make my stock report, but, man, Tony Pollard is just such an explosive player. I mean, it is the 30-yard touchdown he had late in the game. I don't even remember at this point, what touchdown that was in the fourth quarter because everything was so chaotic and wonderful. But the touchdown that Tyler Smith provided, the escort for the entire way through was incredible. I mean, Tony Pollard is incredible. He is the most explosive player in the NFL outside of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the most explosive player in the NFL, and then Tony Pollard is number 2. 12 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.6 yards per carry, the 30-yard score. And if I were being super cliche in the Christmas spirit of things, I would say, and a partridge in a pear tree. Everybody makes that joke every year around this time. Tony Pollard is incredible. Zach says, is Tony in a contract year? Would hate to lose that guy. Mark says, pay the man next season, TP. Yeah, it sucks. It does seem like a franchise tag situation. J.A. Selena says, what's your opinion on next season, Pollard or Zeke? I mean, I think you have to tag Pollard. You can't let this dude walk. You simply cannot. You have to let him. You have to tag at the very least. And I don't know what they decide to do with Zeke, excuse me, but you cannot not have Tony Pollard on your team next year. Matt says, I voted for Pollard to make the Pro Bowl this year, and so should everyone else. Agreed with Matt. And by the way, on the subject of voting, you should be voting in terms of who should be our Righteous Felon Craft Jerky player of the game. Right now, Malik Hooker holding strong, 51% of the vote. So big time night for Malik Hooker in a lot of different ways. But next up, Michael Gallup, and bit of a struggle early on. I talked about that. It did feel for a little while like, man, this team really could use Odell Beckham Jr. Michael Gallup not having the strongest kind of performance. And that was a bit of a bummer, right? Because over the last 2 weeks in Minnesota and then against the Giants, it kind of felt like we were getting Michael back, right? Like, oh, that's him. That's the guy with the vice grips, right? Like, we're seeing Michael Gallup show up and show up and show up. And so that didn't happen right away against the Colts. And so that was a little bit concerning. But Michael Gallup woke up. I mean, Michael Gallup exploded, 2 touchdowns. Michael Gallup had 1 touchdown on the season before tonight, and it came against the Commanders. He had 2 touchdowns, obviously tripling his total on the year. Before tonight, Michael Gallup had not caught a touchdown from Dak Prescott. I mean, and obviously we all know why. That's, it's not like shocking because of the way the season has gone and unfolded. But he caught 2, and the first one was amazing, but the second one was so pretty. The second one, it was an amazing throw, and Dak didn't make my stock list, but I mean, what an incredible throw, but what an incredible catch. I mean, again, they were both just he has such a, where's the comment here? Zach says, Gallup or MG one strong dude. That guy makes so many physical catches. He has this like delicate strength. I don't know if that makes sense. Like he has this like beautiful strength, like this like, sort of, again, like it's a strength that is serene at the same time. It's not this like, massive over the top strength. It is a subtle strength. It is a subtle strength that will get you, when you least expect it. And you cannot win. He is incredible. I mean, he is so good. And it was so awesome to see him back. Patrick says, I think the word you're looking for is graceful. I'm fine calling it graceful. Either way, Christopher adds, yes, precision strength. I like that. Precision strength. It's the strongest flower in the world. That's like kind of what I think of when I think of Michael Gallup. I mean, what an amazing performance. 2 touchdowns. Good for him. Now I agree with Loco, says that he got bullied on the interception. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like there were some tough moments for Gallup in this game, which led to, I think, our minds wandering towards Odell Beckham Jr., but he made up for it. He really, really, really did. So good for Michael Gallup. Shout out to him. Stock up. There was a comment, stock up Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr returned in this game, obviously, from injury. Had a small role, not as big. I mean, there were a lot of people. There's a lot of people to hand out flowers to here. But Anthony Barr, I thought, played a great game. Leighton Vander Esch, I thought, played a great game. Didn't make the stock report. But, man, I mean, Anthony Barr kind of starting to find his form too with the Cowboys. We haven't really, it's felt like we haven't gotten any big moments out of him. The linebacker core has been so interesting when you really think about it. Jabril Cox inactive again. Damone Clark is the one popping off. I mean, like it's so, unexpected in terms of what we thought this season was going to look like. But Anthony Barr, I think, deserves a lot of props. So I wanted to make sure we gave him some. How could we? I mean, we took us a long time, but again, there's a lot to get to. Stock up Malik Hooker, the leader in the Righteous Felon Craft Jerky Player of the Game vote here on the Blogging the Boys postgame show, of course, presented by Righteous Felon. What a night for Malik Hooker. I mean, seriously, and spoiler alert, he's not the only safety on this list. But, I mean, Malik Hooker, what an amazing game. The interception, and like you could argue that the amazing things he didn't do on his own, right? Like the interception was a tip ball, the fumble, he didn't force. But you know what? That's team football. I'm giving this to Malik Hooker, but I feel like he's emblematic of the team defense that this team plays. I mean, we all agree, right? This defense dominated. This defense was completely and totally and absolutely dominant against, a really bad team. They had 3 sacks on the night. One happened to be Anthony Barr, who we talked about. One was Osa Odigizua, shout out Wingardium Leviosa, and one was Donovan Wilson. No sacks for Micah Parsons. If we had sat here and if we had talked about and if we had said the Cowboys are going to completely and totally bully the Indianapolis Colts, the Cowboys are going to completely and totally suffocate the Indianapolis Colts offense, what do we think Micah Parsons did? If we knew that, if we knew the result and we said, guess the process, we would have said, well, Micah must have done something amazing. Micah must have had like 1 million sacks. Micah must have had like the forced fumble. No, Micah had kind of a quiet night, right? Like for Micah Parsons' standards, right? I mean, so there was all these performances everywhere else. And so I think Malik Hooker really balled out, and it has to feel awesome, obviously, for Malik Hooker to have this performance against his former teams. 2 takeaways, 2 turnovers, and to get into the end zone on one of them. I mean, and it really, look, there were a lot of moments in the fourth quarter that were incredible and that were euphoric and made us feel amazing in a lot of different ways. But Malik Hooker's touchdown was kind of the beginning. Like it was after Malik Hooker's touchdown that we were like, all right, it's a wrap. It's victory number 9. Of course, there were like 1,000 more points scored after that. But Malik Hooker, the fumble recovery, the interception, awesome. Well done, Malik Hooker. Proud of you. Congratulations on the stock up, and a premature congratulations on winning our Righteous Felon Craft Jerky Player of the Game. Andre Brown says 73 Smith is coming to his own. The pull plays he executed perfectly. I did not give Tyler Smith a stock up personally, but I'm totally fine if you want to do so. I mean, he has been awesome. He's been wonderful. I think the broadcast did a great job of talking about how he's come along, and obviously the Cowboys are kind of prepping for Tyron Smith to return, and I think we're going to see an even better version of Tyler Smith, just because it's not a knock on Tyler Smith to say that he is not ready to be a left tackle full-time in the NFL, because he's not, right? But that's okay. It's impossible for him to be ready to be a full-time left tackle in the NFL when he has played 12 NFL games. It's just an impossible thing, and he has done the impossible to this point. He deserves all the credit in the world for helping the Cowboys survive to this point. The Cowboys, our favorite team, they are 9-3, and in the same way that we need to give Cooper Rush his flowers, Tyler Smith obviously will continue to play unlike Cooper Rush, but Tyler Smith allowed for us to survive, and he deserves an enormous amount of credit. Like I said, I didn't give him a stock up for this game, but he did have a wonderful performance as well. Spencer says, sad day when Micah has a quiet night. Love seeing him shine bright. It also puts into perspective how great the rest of the defense is. Totally agreed. Let's see here. I wanted to get to this. Kenneth says, RJ, you could tell Parsons was upset he didn't get a sack. He's 3 behind the leader now. You could just kind of tell that it was bothering him. And that's okay. Like, I think we all like that about Micah Parsons, but everybody got something. Everybody got like their moment Zeke got the touchdown at the end, and the awesome celebration. But no kind of flash moment for Micah Parsons. That's okay. You know what? As Astro Joe says, he did his job. Oh, he's talking about Tyler Smith, but still, Micah did his job. Bump City says, any idea when Tyron will be back? Jerry Jones saying after the game that they are going to work him in this week. So, get ready for that. Let's see here. Tweet from Haley Sutton of DallasCowboys.com, friend of the show. Haley saying, Dak says he would get a suite at the Dallas Mavericks game for tomorrow if Odell Beckham Jr. Wants to go. He's more of a courtside guy, so we'll see about that. The leadership council is meeting with him on Tuesday. I know this sounds ridiculous. I don't know if any of you did or did not see this, but it is part of the plan for the Cowboys to take Odell Beckham, for their leadership council to take Odell Beckham Jr. to the Mavericks game early this week as part of their courtship of him. So get ready for that. That is, the Cowboys are putting on, excuse me for making the very obvious pun, they're putting on a full court press for Odell Beckham Jr. So get ready. Dr. Gonzo says Bosa feasted on the Dolphins today. Yeah, that's how Micah Parsons is trailing, obviously, in the sack department. So that's tough. But okay, let's get back to our stocks. So we've given stock ups to CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Michael Gallup, Anthony Barr, Malik Hooker, Damone Clark. Come on down. I've eaten my crow before. I will eat it again. I'll sprinkle in some Righteous Felon craft jerky. Again, discount code BTB15, righteousfelon.com. I did not believe the Cowboys. I did not believe that Damone Clark was going to play. I thought when the Cowboys drafted him on day 3 and they said, no, we envisioned him playing, this season. I thought they were just full of it. And I don't think that was a bad thing. I thought they were just being optimistic. I thought they were just saying the right things. I thought that it was all along something that was geared towards 2023. I thought that was the case, and I was wrong. He has not just played, he has been awesome. He is like one of their best linebackers. I mean, he is literally one of the best linebackers on the team. Now, I find it amazing that he has a more prominent role than Jabril Cox does. That's a whole different story. But still, Damone Clark, deserves a lot of credit. And Kevin contextualizes this, says Clark just playing is a win, but he is making plays. And to be clear, Kevin's point is, look, if this dude was just on the field, and I don't want to compare the two, but if you'll recall, when Jalen Smith, participated in activities, that in and of itself was a huge win. And Jalen deserves a lot of credit for that, right? For being the medical marvel that he is and that he was at the time, returning from his injury. It was just a victory to get them active, to get them in uniform, to get them playing. I agree with that. But it is more than that. Damone Clark is not just like in the ceremonial part of this. He is one of the most impactful players on this defense. He deserves an incredible amount of credit. Shane says, have the Cowboys had more good linebackers on one team than they have right now? They are stacked at linebacker. I would hesitate to use the word stacked because it feels kind of floating, right? Like, Leighton Vander Esch is playing very well. Anthony Barr is playing very well. Damone Clark's obviously playing very well. And so it feels, maybe floating is not the right word. I'm just scared to trust it. But yeah, they have not been this deep at the linebacker spot in a while. Just an incredible day for Damone Clark. I lost my train of thought. Let's see here. We have 2 more. I lied. I was off on my math here, but as we get ready, so let's move on. Next one for me, next stock up, Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson had an early start to the game. Man alive, what a performance. Again, I told you there was another safety here. Donovan Wilson was amazing for the Cowboys. Didn't have the flash, obviously, that Malik Hooker did. But let's see here. Zeke's mom had an awesome tweet about how it brought her to tears when Cowboys fans were chanting Zeke. That's awesome. Way to go, Zeke's mom. Zeke's mom gets a stock up. Zeke's mom's one of the best follows on Twitter if you don't follow her already. But anyway, Donovan Wilson, fighting Texas Aggie. Awesome game, awesome moment. Just really has stabilized that position. The Cowboys kind of got lucky in that they just sort of stumbled into all these great safeties all at once. We talk about the linebacker depth. Donovan Wilson, we already gave love to Malik Hooker. Think about it. We're handing out stock ups to safeties that are not named Jaron Kearse. That, in a weird way, feels impossible, but it's just kind of the state of who the Cowboys are, that they have all sorts of players who can make plays. Zach Fowler said it feels like Donovan Wilson gets a sack like every other game on those blitzes. Totally agreed. Oh, Ricardo with a body shot here. Saturday looked sad today. Go boys. Well done. Very, very, very well done. Brian, thank you for the super chat. Says stock up the Red Kettle celebrations. Jerry should publicly announce he's paying all fines and matching them with donations to the Salvation Army. That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, the NFL punishing, the Cowboys for this is stupid and lame and boring and makes me upset. But shout out to Donovan Wilson. We have one stock up left. We left him off of the poll, and I understand that has upset some people, but it is time to give it to him. DaRon Bland. All right, DaRon Bland. Oh, my gosh. What? DaRon Bland. Amazing. What an amazing game for DaRon Bland. I mean, again, this Cowboys rookie class has just been amazing in a lot of ways. And DaRon Bland, kind of the latest example of that. What an awesome performance. I mean, like, how do you, like, what, like, and cool. It was against Matt Ryan, right? Like, I don't think we're going to sit here and say it was the greatest performance of all time. But look, he's a rookie. He's not supposed to be doing this kind of stuff. All of you are making the obvious joke. That's not a shot, but you're all like, he's not bland. He's anything but bland. He's spicy. DaRon spicy, blah, blah, blah. I get it. DaRon Bland was awesome in this game. Last year's Cowboys draft class, kind of a tough scene right now, right? Kelvin Joseph, not exactly looking great. Nahshon Wright, not exactly looking great. Chauncey Golston has yet to really make an impact, right? Osa Odighizuwa, though, like, there's a little bit of promise there, right? There's not a lot of promise. Really, there's a little bit, but not much for anybody beyond Micah Parsons, which, hey, I mean, cool, you drafted a Hall of Famer. Like, what a big time miss. But this year's draft class, I mean, we're talking DaRon Bland's obviously playing out of his mind. Damone Clark's playing out of his mind. Let's see here. Aiden has a great point. Says we need to give Sam Williams some props. Also, Sam Williams was awesome. Sam Williams was crazy at times. He had a huge tackle for loss at the beginning of the second half. He had the forced fumble. Again, in the onslaught of good that came in the fourth quarter. Just an incredible day. An incredible day. DaRon Bland kind of the latest example of that. So lots and lots and lots to celebrate for the Cowboys. We will spend the rest of our time answering your questions and making sure I don't miss anything here on Twitter. By the way, I will rework the stock report for the site and for Instagram. I feel bad having Anthony Brown there. I don't want to have Anthony Brown there. Dude got hurt, and it's a tough loss for him to be done for the rest of the season. So overall thoughts, overall things you want to get off your chest for us to talk about here when it comes to our Dallas Cowboys. And again, making sure we don't miss anything here in the aftermath of the game. So, all right, that diet root beer. Let's see here. Spencer asks a question. Whatever happened to Sam being D? Sam Williams did ask to go by D Williams initially after being drafted. Changed his mind. So, Sam changed his mind. That's really what it was. Let's see here. Aiden says, can we also please talk about CD destroying that guy on that third down? Again, this was a CD Lamb. I don't know whose game this was. This was CD Lamb's game, but it was also DaRon Bland's game, but it was also Damone Clark's game, but it was also Malik Hooker's game, but it was also Tony Pollard's game. Like, I don't know who, like, if this game was a DVD, I don't know who would be on the cover. Or if this game was a book, I don't know who would be on the cover. Like, there's too many people to make an argument for. It was just an incredible day. It really, really, truly, truly, truly was an incredible day for the Cowboys. Astro Joe says, what's the line on the over-under for the Texans? Let's see here. I checked earlier today. Our friends at DraftKings, before today's games, had the Cowboys as 14.5-point favorites for next week's game against the Texans. They have taken that off, obviously, because Dallas was playing, but it has not come back yet. But it was 14.5 early on. They should they should win that game. I think we feel very confident about that. Clay says, RJ, let's talk OBJ. Do we need him? Yes. Do we want him? Yes. Is it going to happen? I hope so. Scott says, Mike M deserves his props. Happy for him. Here's the thing, man. Mike McCarthy is not perfect. I don't know of a coach that is. I don't know of a coach that would be defined as perfect by anybody, but Mike McCarthy the Cowboys are one win away. We all think the Cowboys are going to win at least one more game, right? Like, so when they do, the Cowboys will have won their 10th game of the season. That will give them double-digit wins in back-to-back years for the first time since 1995 and 1996. I want you to think about what I just said. The Cowboys have not won at least 10. They have not had consecutive seasons with at least 10 wins since 1995 and 1996. It has been almost 30 years since they have done that simple thing. And I don't say simple to act like it really is simple, but I mean, you have to and people joke with this, but like anytime they've had any, bit of success, they have cratered. They have been a yo-yo operation for almost 30 years. And Mike McCarthy is on the precipice of doing it in his third season as the team's head coach. That is amazing. We do not give this man enough credit what he has done. He is not perfect. He has some issues. We're not going to agree with all of his decisions, but he has created and fostered a culture here of winning, and we are seeing that week after week after week after week. He is 9-3 when we thought they would be lucky to win 5 games. I mean, that is an amazing thing. So shout out to Mike McCarthy, because to Patrick's point, this was a team win. He oversees a complete and total team, an absolute team. Well done, Mike McCarthy. Well done him. Caleb says this team has so much potential, and I feel like it's being held back by Kellen Moore. Am I crazy to think that despite us putting points up against teams, I feel like we could be doing so much more? I agree to an extent. I mean, I don't mean to just say like trust it and give up, because offensively they have some problems, right? Offensively they get in their own way. So yeah, I think that's fair. It's not hurting them. It's not hurting them in the grand scheme. I mean, think about it. They have played at this point now 6 games with Dak Prescott, and they have won 4 of them. And in one of the ones, or of the 2 they lost, he didn't finish it. Not that he would have beat the Bucs, but the other one they blew a 14-point lead. That's not Kellen Moore's fault. I mean, so when he has Kellen Moore, I do think that when Kellen has Dak, I do think that there's a fair bit of benefit of the doubt to extend there. Personally, Watsamata says, I'm not worried about the slow start. Strong second half wins playoff games. This team can boom. I mean, 33 points. Boom. I mean, we blinked. You literally blinked, and it was like an onslaught. It was insane. Mikey says, I kind of want to bring Mike back, to be honest. I will be so upset if the Cowboys do not bring Mike McCarthy back. I will be very, 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 very upset. It is insane. Pick and Pop says, insane we tried to match the drama year on the pick memes with this. I don't know what this comment is, but let's see here. Alex says, I'm going to guess the Texans line will be 25.5-ish. It will be something like that. Let's see. Micah Parsons just tweeted out, man, we really making people play scared with 3 laughing emojis. It's comical. So Micah, seemingly not a fan of the way that the game went as far as how he was handled. J-Ron Kirsch tweeted out, y'all thought I was joking when I said it's not a better 3 in the league. Trayvon Diggs quoted that and said the best out. So the Cowboys are feeling themselves, and they have every right to. Ricardo says CD was the spark that ignited the flame. He really did. I mean, he really, really, really did. He was amazing. Doxson7 says Bland is the man. Mark says the interception was on Gallup. I agree with that. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat once again. Says Dak threw 1 interception tonight intended for Gallup, who fell down after the ball was thrown. Just for perspective, agreed. I think obviously it wasn't an interception, but the play that was looked at, the incomplete pass, CD fell down too. I mean, so you can certainly explain away some things, and even if you can't, I'm fine with Dak being aggressive. I'm fine with Dak being aggressive because he has a defense he knows will support him. I'm fine being aggressive. He can make those throws. He can challenge those things. So I'm totally fine with it in the overall. Kenneth says, RJ, how do you feel about the Eagles? We will talk about this on the NFC East mixtape, as mentioned a few times. This was an impressive 2 weeks for the Eagles. All right, let's all be real. We're all around the campfire here, right? Like we're all kind of seated. We got some jackets on. We got some snacks. This was an impressive 2 weeks for the Eagles. After the loss of the Commanders and the little whoopsie against this Colts team, the Packers played them tough. I think the Packers played better against them than they did against us, and the Eagles won, which is frustrating. And I believed in the Titans this morning. I believed in the Titans, and they vanquished them. I mean, they vanquished the Tennessee Titans, and they deserve credit for that. And I think we're seeing some signs of regression, right? Like some turnovers or whatever, and you hate to say this, but injuries, right? Like things that hadn't happened to them over the early parts of the season. Kind of starting to catch up with them just a little bit. But it's difficult. It's difficult to see them losing a game. To answer Astro Joe's question, who can knock off the Eagles besides us? I mean, it's going to take some sort of Herculean effort. We're going to need, next week Saquon to have like a crazy game and the Giants to win that way. Or if it's not next week, Justin Fields to have like a crazy Justin Fields game to beat them. It is going to take some sort of, special thing. They're too good of a team to just lose because you played your normal game. Some team, whether it's the Giants or the Bears or the Saints, the Giants again, some team is going to have to play them and do something special on that day. That's the only way it happens. They are a very, very good team. They're not frauds. They're not lame. They're not a paper tiger. They are a very good team. I think the Cowboys are better. But they are in the driver's seat right now because of what has happened to this point in the season. Now, Steve says the 49ers may be the only other team that could beat the Eagles. That's true. We are talking about teams on their schedule, just to be clear here. But the 49ers, and I feel so bad for Jimmy Garoppolo, but that the landscape of the NFC has changed significantly with his injury, his broken foot. In case you somehow missed it, Jimmy Garoppolo broke his left foot today and is expected to miss the rest of the season. That casts a lot of doubt, obviously, around the 49ers, and they are the Niners, and they are Kyle Shanahan, and so they generally do find a way. They won this game. I mean, that Jimmy Garoppolo is hurting against the Miami Dolphins, who are a very good team. So it is difficult to count them out. But obviously, it is difficult to expect them to be that same team all of the time without Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I really think, this isn't like a original line of thought or something that nobody's saying, but this conference is going to come down to Philadelphia and Dallas. It's hard to see any other way that it goes unless one of them has some sort of collapse down the stretch. The NFL is crazy in that sense. Let's see here. D-Day 3 says we'd play Tampa, then San Francisco if playoff seeding stays the same for the playoffs. That is true. Unless, other things happened, along the way, right? Unless the Buccaneers lost out the division, or unless the Niners lost their wild card game, whatever. A lot of things could happen, but it does seem the Cowboys are going to have to play, in all likelihood, the Niners or the Eagles in the playoffs. That is probably going to happen at some point down the line. It's tough. Let's see here. Micah, somebody tweeted at Micah and said, don't get complacent. Lock in for next week now. Season not over and nothing is guaranteed. Micah quoted that and said, never. It pisses me the F off with 2 pissed emojis. So Micah seemingly ready to get to work. Watch out, Houston Texans, because Micah Parsons is pissed off. He did not get a sack, Micah Parsons, against the Indianapolis Colts, and I bet that is definitely upsetting him at this moment in time. This was awesome. It's an incredible win for the Cowboys. It was an incredible win, and they were not perfect for the entire game, but they stood up tall, very tall, when it mattered the most, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. They are one of the best teams in the NFL. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a joke. That is not silly. That is not anything else. That is complete and total objective fact. They are one of the very best teams in the NFL. They are full well capable and able of winning the Super Bowl. That's true. That's again they haven't won the Super Bowl in 30 years. I know, but if we're talking about who these teams are today is December 4th. We are at that point in the season, in the calendar, where it's pretty important time, right? They are one of the handful of teams who could win the Super Bowl. They really are. And that is a really exciting thing. I know it's scary to let yourself believe that, but they are one of the very, 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 very best teams in the NFL. It's a lot of fun. Kenneth Cook says top 3. You got to put the Eagles. I think they're a better team than the Eagles, but when I do my power rankings at belongontheboys.com, but it's hard to put the Cowboys over the Eagles right now. So if we're doing a power ranking, which is a little bit different, I would put the Eagles ahead of them. I haven't been putting the Bills ahead of them. I have been putting the Chiefs ahead of them, but the Chiefs just lost today as well. They will be a top 3 team in my power rankings this week, at least. I think some people will probably put the Cowboys ahead of the Chiefs in power rankings. I think that's a little bit silly. The Chiefs are still the best team in the NFL. They still have the most dangerous quarterback and player in the NFL. The Bills just haven't looked like the dominant version of themselves that we saw early on. That's it, though. It's those teams. You're talking Chiefs, Bills, maybe Bengals, Cowboys, Eagles. That's kind of where it's at right now. I'm sorry, Vikings. I do believe in you, but you're not showing the same level of force that we're seeing from these other teams. They are one of the very, 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 very best teams in the NFL. All right, we do have to hand out our Righteous Felon Craft Jerky Player of the Game based off of your votes. You have been voting all show long, and with over 50% of the vote, Malik Hooker gets the dub. What a shock. He got the interception. He got the fumble. He got the Righteous Felon Craft Jerky Player of the Game. Malik Hooker, what a night. What a performance. Malik Hooker, we're so proud of you. What an awesome performance. Glad you got revenge. Glad you had your moment. Glad you got your touchdown. Incredible night. Incredible effort all the way around. That about does it. Oh, by the way, shout out to Cowboys Stats and Graphic, friend of the show. The Cowboys, with their lopsided victory over the Indianapolis Colts, are now the NFL leaders in point differential this season. Point differential is, there's no one statistic that can tell you everything you need to know about an NFL team, but point differential is a very valuable tool because point differential tells you, generally speaking, how teams are either, barely hanging on, barely winning, or really completely and totally dominating teams. And the Cowboys are the leaders in point differential across the NFL. That says a lot, especially when you consider the fact that they were only plus 28 in games with Cooper Rush. I mean, they have come to life with Dak Prescott under center. It has been it's been a lot of fun. There's still a lot more to go. All right, so we get a normal week this week because the Cowboys played on a Sunday. Now they'll play on a Sunday again. So last week was kind of off, et cetera, et cetera. First things first, tomorrow is Victory Polo Monday. If you have a Dallas Cowboys polo, Dallas Cowboys shirt, Dallas Cowboys hat, Dallas Cowboys scarf, you want to paint your nails, whatever you want to do. It doesn't even have to be Dallas Cowboys. Take a picture, take a selfie, tweet it out, tag me at RJ Ochoa, post it on your Instagram story, tag me at RJ Ochoa, tag us, Blogging the Boys on Twitter, blogging.the.boys on Instagram, tag me on TikTok, celebrate. That is the whole spirit of Victory Polo Monday, to celebrate our team getting the dub. That is tomorrow. We will have a new roundtable for you here at Blogging the Boys on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll, of course, have a billion articles for you available at bloggingtheboys.com. I'll be TikToking and Instagram reeling if you want to follow me over there. RJ Ochoa on Instagram, RJ.Ochoa on TikTok. I'll be tweeting my thoughts, RJ Ochoa on Twitter. If you want to email me while we're saying stuff, you can, rj.ochoa at sbnation.com. You can always leave a comment down below, and we'll do our best to get to those. Also, the Dallas Cowboys are 9-3. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. Life is very, very, very good. I hope you all had a wonderful, 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 wonderful time since Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed last Sunday in the Red Zone channel and this week and Christmas, and you got your decorations up and you enjoyed all the music and you're watching the movies and you're eating the treats and whatever the case may be. It is such a wonderful time of year, especially when the Cowboys are playing like this. Yeah, let's do it all again. Let's do it again soon. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I love you with all of my heart. Little Bear here down under the desk loves you with all of his heart. We love you with all of our hearts here at Blogging the Boys. We will see you next time. As always, go Cowboys and peace out.